welcome to our City of Cleveland Virtual Black History Month program. Today, we are winding down this week's activities. We are almost into the home stretch, and we've had some wonderful conversations. Today, we are going to be joined by Miss Yvonne Pointer, the woman who got me into this seat.
And you're doing a wonderful job.
Why, thank you. Yvonne is one of those individuals. We know that in the city of Cleveland, we have a number of people that step up and help one another when they are in need. Yvonne has always had that giving spirit and wanting to ensure everyone is taken care of. Particularly, she has a heart for the children, and she has a heart for those who have been affected by violence, having dealt with that herself. Today, we're going to talk to her about some of the efforts that she has done and taken, not necessarily control of, but led during this pandemic. There's a number of initiatives that she has participated in to make our city a better place, a more loving place, and a more hopeful place. Because at the core of everything that she does, she wants you to know that there's always hope. So I'm standing in for Director Grady Stevenson of the City of Cleveland Community Relations Board. We have budget hearings going on, and he is going to the table any moment. So on behalf of Director Stevenson and our mayor, Frank G. Jackson, I welcome you all to this presentation. I hope that you enjoy it. I'm sure you will. And if you have any questions, for those of you who have joined the session, please utilize the chat box and you can ask questions, and we will have Ms. Pointer respond to them, or I will respond to them, but I don't think anybody will have questions for me. So first off, let's say a rousing welcome to my shero, my friend, my mentor, Yvonne Pointer. Welcome, Yvonne.
Hey, Shelley, thank you. And I want to really give honor to God, who's the head of my life, and to acknowledge our illustrious Mayor, Frank G. Jackson, and Director Grady Stevenson of Community Relations, and of course you, Shelley. Thank you for this opportunity to be a part of the Black History program. As a retired person from the chair, I realize how difficult the task can be, and I want to say you're doing an awesome job.
Why, thank you. The task usually isn't as difficult, but for some reason, the virtual world makes life a little harder. Things don't go as smoothly as they do in the real world when you're dealing with the virtual world. So it has been a challenge, but it is a labor of love because I like spotlighting those individuals who bring a bright light to the city of Cleveland. Too often we hear about what's wrong with Cleveland, but there's a whole lot that's right with Cleveland. And it starts, number one, with our greatest asset, our people. And you are one of those shining stars. Oh, if you could tell our audience, although I'm sure most all of them are familiar with your story, but every now and again, I run across someone who says, I've heard the name, but I'm not familiar. So if you could tell a little about your story, and then we'll go into pandemic, the year 2020.
Well, if I may start with just a poem that will kind of highlight, it's called Mommy Speak for Me. Mommy, speak for me. Tell the world of the pain that I felt with the blow to my head as he left my body lying in the rain. Mommy, speak for me. Even though my body is not there, please find someone who will listen. There must be someone somewhere. Mama, speak for me, not just for me, myself, and I, but there are so many people like myself, Mommy, who want to know the reasons why. Mommy, speak for me. For was I bad? Did I deserve to die that way? Maybe you can get someone to tell you, Mommy, why children are being abused in the world on today. And Mommy, if they won't listen, don't you hang your head in shame. Just always know that I love you, Mommy, and you did try just the same. On December 6, 1984, many of you know my 14-year-old daughter, Gloria Pointer, was brutally raped and murdered on her way to Harry Davis Junior High School. It was a 29-year search for her, the killer, which was finally brought to justice thanks to a DNA test, a DNA hit. But what I wanted to just highlight is what happened during those 29 years. I just was looking for a reason to live, Shelley, and after such a violent act, it was very difficult. It seemed as if my life had come to an end. And I can remember very clearly praying. I really wanted God just to come and get me, to take me out of the pain, out of the suffering. And I explained that I didn't have a reason to live at that point. Just a simple prayer. I don't have a reason to be here. And it just came back to me in the sweetest, gentlest voice, then I will be your reason. So I can tell anyone this service is what saved my life. A lot of people right now, even as you talked about during the pandemic and during this isolation, people are struggling with depression. People are just really going through. And it's hard to believe that the answer to what our problems might be helping someone else solve their problems. Well, that's what did it for me. And we just got involved in the community and the schools and programs. And the more I got involved, the more I found purpose and reason. Now, I don't want anybody to think that, oh, it's easy. No, it's some sacrificing that has to take place. But that's kind of what happened. And then after her case was finally solved, I thought, okay, good, I can go sit down now and cross my legs. But it didn't happen like that either. That just opened the door for more service. And well, if her case was solved, what can we do to help somebody else? And so I've just been, by God's grace, a tireless activist and advocate for people who have lost families, members to violence, and to never give up hope. Because if it happened for me after 29 years, there's hope for anybody out there.
That is so very true. And even when you were advocating on behalf of others and seeking to give them hope prior to you finding out who had actually um, murdered your child, you were continuing to work. You had a regular job, uh, and although I don't know that I would call the job that you had regular, because it didn't always have regular hours.
No.
And with it, you were instrumental in beginning what we're doing right now, which is celebrating the month of February as a city and highlighting those who have come before us and those who are making history today. Tell us about how that all started.
Well, I think often in life, or maybe sometimes in life, you get to have what you call a dream job. My employment with the Attorney General's office with Lee Fisher, and then over to City Hall, coming under Mayor Michael White, Mayor Jane Campbell, and then Mayor Frank Jackson, is what I would consider a dream job. I got a chance to get paid to do what I would do for free, and that's to make a difference in the community and to come up with programs and ideas. So under I think it was Blaine Griffin at the time, the director for community relations, we put together this Black History Month celebration where we were able to do great things and to acknowledge people in the community like Stephanie Tubbs Jones. And I mean, I could just go on and on. Arnold Pinckney, of course, the Stokes brothers. And so not only that, but to bring it down to the everyday citizen. That's what made it so exciting. The mom and pop stores, the Mr. Smiths on the streets. And so we just had an opportunity. as a group, as a committee, to acknowledge the average citizen and to say, hey, anybody can make a difference, and to highlight some of those. And so then on top of that, we connected it to the scholarship, and I'm sure you've already talked about that. But we can help the young people because they would have to write an essay about a Black historian in the city of Cleveland. And as a result, they would be eligible for the scholarship. So it's just been a tremendous journey.
Yeah, it is. And I think that what you mentioned as it relates to the scholarship fund, that makes it even more special because we do get the opportunity to give a little something to students in Cleveland who are graduating from Cleveland schools who may not be able to go to school if it weren't for that scholarship. You know, it may be that extra little push that they need to get over that hump that says, okay, we can do this. You can go to school. So that is one of the highlights of this. And as you said, the fact that we do look at everyday men and women because we are making Black history every day.
We should be.
Yes, we should be. And whatever we're doing, particularly as it comes to servicing others.
Well, when we think about Black history, we think about people like Martin Luther King and Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth. And we don't think that we are the future historians.
Mhm.
And so we may need to do something that history would recall our name. I'm in the process right now of reading Cicely Tyson's book, and I'm just mesmerized that how everyone that you read about who's done great things, especially in Black history, they didn't start out like superheroes. They were everyday people, just like you and me, but they went on to do great things. And what we found working with the City of Cleveland, the Black History Committee, that anybody can make a difference. How did Dr. King say? All you got to do is serve. So we give people an opportunity to be of service. And you talked earlier about the pandemic and isolation. This is a great opportunity for us to do service. You know, while we sit around feeling sorry for ourselves, I keep saying it, you can just get up and serve. And that does not have to be difficult. It can be as simple as picking up the phone and calling a senior neighbor or helping a child who is struggling with their online education. But I think what we do with this committee, through the Black History Committee, is honor people who have served.
And serving has been a mission of yours, and it is something that during 2020, you were very instrumental in doing a number of things. Tell us about some of the initiatives you were involved in as the pandemic came into life, as it grew a life of legs of its own, and you saw that there was a need.
Well, first of all, I have to say that you don't catch God by surprise. Because 5 years ago in October, we started what we call the Hope Haven. It's an online live broadcast. And we just thought we were having fun communicating, not realizing that it was going to come a day and time that might be the major form of communication. The churches are shut down, the schools are shut down. So we are used to coming Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. communicating. And we have one Hope Havender, what we call Jeff Brown. I think he was one of your honorees as well, who brought to our attention the fact that the frontline workers need to be acknowledged. So in Hope Haven, we started raising funds and highlighting frontline workers and dropping off food to hospitals and encouraging the nurses and the hospital staff. And then we thought, well, what about the frontline police officers, the people who are out there every day putting their lives at risk? So we started taking food to each police district, and it just continued to grow. And somebody's walking through, the more we began to do things, the more people wanted to do things. So we found that it gave them a purpose, not just locally, but internationally as well. So then we thought, well, what about the nurses who are weary? You know, it's hard to believe that there are people in the hospitals whose family can't even go visit. And here are the nurses and the frontline workers who have the task of not only caring for them, but becoming their families, holding their hands as they transition. So we started a program called Notes to Nurses, asking people just to sit down, get a card, and write a note, encouraging the heart of a nurse. We have Billy Sharp, I think was one of your honorees or as well, who through the Urban League in different places decided, okay, well, let's keep this going. So for the past few weeks, we've been doing donuts and coffees. Now, I know they got this joke about police officers and donuts, but you would be surprised at how grateful they are that somebody is thinking about them. Then we started a program where we just would pick up the phone and call a senior citizen. Most people that know me, one of our past honorees, Mr. Frank Smith, a senior on my street who right now as we speak is in the hospital. Mr. Smith has no family, no children. He has his nieces and nephews. So we've got people like Lady Gilmore and Shelley and Anki who make sure Mr. Smith gets something to eat. So it's the simple things that we can do. Now I'm gonna tell you, I'm struggling with the isolation because I'm a people person. I love people. I don't know if I don't like that I can't be around people. So what if it's other people that's doing that and you got on the phone and you didn't gossip, you just did what we also call a wellness check. I have friends right now in Texas with what's going on there. Simple text, wellness check. And what does that say to them? That somebody is concerned about your well-being. Because I have another friend right now, her brother, they did a wellness check, and unfortunately, her brother was deceased. But it was because somebody checked that they knew that something was wrong. So that's kind of what we've been doing, Shelley, is just checking on our neighbors, checking on our friends. You've got children right now who are struggling with the online learning. Anybody can help. Thank God for Lisa McGuthrie that opens her stores and say, okay, you can bring your children here. We have tutors that will help. So everybody can do something because everybody can serve.
That is so true. And I will say, with full disclosure, that I had the opportunity to be a part of some of these initiatives early on.
Absolutely.
Particularly after we had our social unrest in the city of Cleveland as it was going on across the nation. And we were trying to bridge a gap between the police and the community, the police and the clergy. And the other key aspect of a lot of what we have done, not only with the pandemic this year, but throughout our tenure during Black History Month, is to highlight and showcase Black businesses and giving them an opportunity. And that's one of the things that's missing as we do this in a virtual world, because as you recall, we would always have a set aside so that area businesses, upstarts, or young caterers who are trying to make a name for themselves could bring in a tasting, and held our events in the rotunda of City Hall. And they would come in and do a tasting, and that gave them an opportunity to have an audience of potential customers. So that's something that's missing. But as you say, it is easy for everyone to do a little something. It's just, I guess the question would be for those who are listening, how do you find that niche or that thing that you think will be of service to someone else aside from your family? Because we all usually do something for our families. But when we're talking about total strangers, how can we utilize giving in order to strengthen our families through the quest for equity and equality?
Well, I think the answer to that is, Shelley, is you don't have to find it, it will find you. If you open yourself up to be willing to be used, it'll find you. And it'll just show up. Somebody will call. You'll see something on television. Something will spark your spirit, man, your interest, and you'll say, you know what, I can do something about that. Let me give you a perfect example. We're in the process right now of building a senior center in Ghana in memory of my mom and dad. And so I was thinking, well, once we get the building, what can be done? What can the seniors do there in Africa? I was watching television this morning and they had this segment about these people in Alabama who were making these quilts for generations. And I thought, oh my God. So I text Africa right away. I said, can the seniors make quilts? And they said, yes. And so I text another one of the Hope Havenders, and she was thinking the same thing at the same time. So I think we make this a little more difficult than what it is. I think if we can just be still and listen to what is your passion, what sparks you. You might be a person that bakes cakes, okay? And maybe you can find a way to bake some cakes and take to a homeless shelter and drop it off. I understand people don't want to contact with people, but it's a way to do it where you can still social distance yourself. It is opportunities out there. And I think what we have to do is stop talking about what the mayor is not doing, what the police is not doing, what the government is not doing, and answer the question, what are you doing? And if everybody did something, I think this world, in my opinion, would be a better place.
Well, I would say that I agree with you there. I just heard during one of the budget hearings about how um, one of the council members was saying that their residents did not feel safe, and when I hear that, being a resident of Cleveland, it I'm puzzled. I know that there are some areas that are hot pockets for I don't know if we want to call it gang violence, but we'll just call it violence, where things happen. But as an overall, I don't feel unsafe in my city. I think that one has to use common sense about when you go, where you go. You need to be aware of your surroundings because, unfortunately, this pandemic has highlighted a number of the systemic issues that are affecting those minorities, which we happen to be one of the largest minority groups. But when you have systemic racism rampant through all aspects of life, then it becomes clear as to why we have some of the issues that we have in our communities. When there are no jobs, and now you have more people who are added to the roles of the non-working. If you're not working, then you can't buy food. Then you don't have access to health care. Coming into work today, I saw the cars beginning to line up for the food bank. I've never in my lifetime seen lines as long as they have been for the food bank once a week. They're at Muni Lot, but the line will be to East 55th Street. That is several blocks. That's like 50 some blocks or 40 some blocks if you calculate it properly of cars of people who are in need. And I think if we all stop thinking about what we don't have and understand that someone is always a little worse off than we are, and how can we be of service to them? And I would agree with what you say that when you're going through, the best way to bring a smile to your face is to help someone else.
Well, when we think about our ancestors, let's just talk about it. They survived by helping each other.
Mhm.
It hasn't been that long ago that even on my street, you talk about neighborhoods. If I was cooking and I ran out of eggs, I just knocked on my neighbor's door. Do you have any eggs? Or somebody would say, you got any sugar? So we survived by sharing what we had. I don't know if that's what this thing is. It's almost like full circle. You know, gone are the days where I got mine and you just on your own. I think in my opinion, what's happening is we're going to have to go back to helping one another, helping each other. When you cook your dinner and you sit down, don't just be satisfied with you and your family being fed. You have to almost see if there's anyone else that's hungry and be willing to share. Well, I don't have anything this year. All I have is enough for me and my family. I hate to go scripture on you, but I'm telling you, if you share what you have, then you're going to get some more. It's
Mhm.
when you close up everything. And as far as the races, we survived on less than forever, you
Mhm.
know. So now that I think we're saying to other races or to whoever, feel sorry for me, give me some of what you have. I think that keeps us in a mindset, a frame of victimization.
Mhm.
In actuality, we are highly intelligent and capable of creating. We are some of the most creative people I ever met in my life. And so, why don't we tap into that creativity and say, what is it that I still have in my hand that I can do something with? Again, I'm reading Cicely Tyson's book, and I love it because she realized early on that there was something more for her. She just didn't know how to get it, where it was, when it was coming, but something down inside knew. So we've got to stop suppressing our creativity and say, okay, God, you don't create no junk. You've given me something and I need to know what it is. And again, maybe it's baking sweet potato pies. Who was that? Mary Bethune. Didn't she start the college with sweet potato pie? That's
Mhm.
what I think I have it right. With Carl and Louis Stokes, came right out of the projects. But
Mhm.
their mother was like, oh no, we're not going to do this. And look at that. They went on to be the first mayor and to be the congressman. You are not stymied by your conditions. You're only stymied by your thinking. So we got to say, okay, then, if my mind, oh my God, I think about the book by Viktor Frankl, Man's Search to Meaning. I love it. He was incarcerated there in the concentration camps. And he came up with this concept that as long as your mind is free, you cannot be held hostage.
Mhm.
But we, Shelley, let me just tell you, we take too much time keeping our minds isolated for fear. You just name it. I can't do it. Imposter syndrome. It's different things. So you have to press past all of that and tap into what it is you're put here to do and get busy doing it.
Well, we are an advocate for that. I know personally because I know how you have pushed me into things that I, I not necessarily would have done or was ready to do at that time. So, one thing that you brought up that I think is important when you talk about the Stokeses and you talk about the various people, even when you talk about Michael White and Mayor Jackson, um, I think that many of our young people aren't aware of our greatness. And that's another reason why these programs are important is that we show people and particularly young people that There are men and women who came from the same communities, the same streets. They walked the same streets that you are walking, and they went on to do great things. You mentioned the Stokes brothers coming out of the projects. You have Mayor Jackson coming out of the Central neighborhood. Um, Michael White coming out of Glenville. Stephanie Tubbs Jones, I think she was a Collinwood grad. We have all of our various council members now. How do you think it's best for us to go about illuminating this to our children?
Well, somebody once said, and I don't know who said it, they said, if you want to hide information from us, just put it in a book and we'll never find it. I
Correct.
think it almost should be mandatory that our children read, and not only read. When you look at most children today, they have the phones in their hands, the devices. It should be like, I want to introduce you to your history. Here's a book. I took my granddaughter the other day and we went to see the movie about Fred Hampton. Now, I learned some things about that I didn't even know. But then it was so educational for her to understand about the Black Panther Party and all of the things like that. So I think it's important, but how can they learn if no one teaches them? I think that the average individual is so busy today trying to just survive and think about themselves that they don't realize that they have an obligation to reach back to the children. That's what I really love about one of your honorees, Dr. Lee Buddy, the principal over at Wade Park, who's always got the ambassadors involved in something. What you need to do is just say, I am going to take one child. If you don't want to take the whole classroom, you don't want to take the whole Sunday school class, just one child, and guide them into the future by reminding them about what their past was. I think you have an obligation to reach back and to give back.
Okay, I agree with that. I see that we have been joined, but I think he's having some technical issues.
Yeah, he needs to turn off his camera till he gets on.
Good afternoon, Director.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Director.
So you were supposed to be asking questions of Ms. Pointer. I have asked her several. Now's your turn, sir, since you have arrived and we have a few more minutes.
And he may repeat the same ones.
First, I just want to say thank you for all of the hard work you do for the citizens of the city of Cleveland. I know the mayor appreciates you like
I love him.
end, right? But I'd have to say if we're honoring somebody for their work, we have to talk about more than just what Dr. Pointer does for the citizens of the city of Cleveland. I happened to glance on Facebook today and see that they have started to build a senior facility in Africa.
Yes.
And I thought to myself, wow, what a selfless act that is, that she's actually doing a great work here in the city of Cleveland and abroad. Most people would say, wow, man, that's too much. I'm tired. I can't do anymore. But every day I see you doing something different.
Well, I
No
say
matter,
I'm tired.
and no matter how much you complain to me about you're not doing anything else for me, you continue to work and continue to do things. And so, like the mayor tells us, when you do a good job, they're gonna call on you to do something else. And so that's why I think your blessings don't stop. I think the work doesn't stop because you always put your whole self into what you're doing, and it shows in the results that you bring. I just want to know, how would you inspire somebody that's sitting on the sidelines saying, I don't know what to do? How would you inspire somebody to get involved in the work today?
Well, thank you. And I want to just say to God be the glory. As a matter of fact, even in you all acknowledging me and offering this, I was trying to get out of it. I'm like, no, 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 I want somebody else. But I would say to anybody, say, for example, you wanted to go on a trip and your mode of transportation would be the train. Okay? So you would go to the train station and get on. And especially if you saw that that train was eventually going to move. So if you don't know what to do, just find something already in motion. Everybody does not have to reinvent the wheel. You already have programs and organizations that are already doing things. And you can just say, well, look, this is a passion that I have. Dr. Denise McCrae reached out to me recently and she wanted to go over to Wade Park and work with Dr. Buddy. And so, if you don't know what to do, just get involved with someone who's doing something until it kicks on in your life. Maybe you don't want to work with children. Maybe you want to work with seniors. Maybe you want to contact the community relations and say to Director Stevenson, well, what's your department doing? Maybe you want to call the homeless shelters. What do you need? Can we help? I had somebody reach out to me today. They said they got all this canned goods. What can they do with it? And I told them about these little houses on 79th and Superior, little boxes where you can take food, non-perishable food, and leave it there. And believe me when I tell you, Shelley, people come by and get it. So it's not that hard. My granddaughter Logan and her mom, they fill it up all the time with little pots of tuna, crackers, toothpaste. So you don't have to look far for something to do. And if you're really serious about it, all you have to do is reach out to any one of us. We have much work for you to do.
Thank
Now,
you.
I still don't see a comment from Mr. C, so I don't know if the chat box is open or not.
Do you see my message do you see what I've written?
Yes,
I
ma'am. I
guess,
can see yours. I just can't make a comment. I can't access the chat. I can see the chats, but I can't ask the question via chat.
well, can Mr. C just go ahead and make his comment?
Ask your question, Mr. C.
I certainly wanted to compliment you all for the excellent program that you put forth, and Yvonne Pointer has always been one of my sheroes, and so I want to thank you for the work that you do and continue to do, and for the inspiration that you are.
Mr. C, thank you so much. And when you talk about activism, Mr. C was someone who worked in the reentry program for so many years. And let me tell you, speaking of reentry, do you understand that even the prisons are on lockdown? They can't get visits. They can't get no outside connections. And I talked to many of the people there and talk about how COVID is breaking out in the institutions. And so when people talk about work to be done, you can look even into reentry. Is work to be done even there. Am I correct, Mr. C?
Ma'am, you certainly are. And the other comment that I wanted to make was that, and this was many, many years ago, when I first, as a man, most of all of my heroes were men, and I discovered that I could have women as heroes. And Yvonne Pointer was the first woman who I selected to be one of my heroes.
Thank you, Mr. C. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And you have been an inspiration to me on more than one occasion. So I hope that answered your question, Director. All people have to do is find a train that's about to leave the tracks and get on it before it pulls off.
Yeah, you know what? I knew you would come up with something,
Show you right.
something corny to tell.
No, she didn't. No, she didn't go back to 1970.
Show you right.
Never fails. Never fails. I want to apologize. I'm waiting to go before council for budget hearing, and I thought I was going to be on early this morning, and they've pushed me back several times. So that's why I'm late coming on here today. But I could not miss this. I've been running from here to one of my employees' office, peeking in to see, what was going on and how she was handling things. And I knew, because we spent so many years down here working together, and
Yeah.
you taught me so much about taking care of people and just about life in general. And I know that you don't do these things on purpose, but you do them on purpose. And
Yes.
so I'm just thankful that God has placed you in our lives, that we can work and glean from one another, um, and take care of His people. I've watched great people like Charles C. and others do this work, but being able to sit side by side with you in the office was one of my greatest experiences in life. To have my sister sit there with me and teach me some of these things and prepare me for the position that I'm in now. So I'm thankful for that. I just want you to know that. I really didn't have any questions prepared because I knew Shelley was going to do a great job of
Straighten your
asking all
mouth,
her
Shelley.
questions. Uh,
I'm gonna behave myself today.
please do.
I'm gonna
Please do.
try
Remember,
my best because this is being recorded, and you have to behave yourself when you have
absolutely.
company. So
Absolutely.
my mama did teach me that, so I'm gonna behave myself.
So, Ms. Pointer, as I look back, especially on my phone, like on Facebook, they send you memories, right? And so all month long, they've been sending memories of Black history, photos that we have taken, and events that we've had, and with you being there every step of the way, man, it's been a great ride. I wouldn't exchange this for anything in the world. And I came back to the city kicking and screaming. I didn't really want to do it, but I was encouraged by a bishop to come back and do this work. And when God placed you in my life,
Thank you.
wow, what an awesome time. I can't say enough about the time that we spent together and what I've learned from you throughout this process, and how not just here, but in my ministry, how you've affected my life. And I'm just thankful. I'm thankful. I truly am.
Well, I have come to the conclusion that all of us are going to pass away. Much as I'd like to not accept it, that's not a fact. We're going to die. And so when somebody say, did you know, whenever that day is, did you know that Dr. Pointer died? And I want somebody to say, well, how did she die? And then I want the answer to be, she died living.
Hmm.
She died living. Every day that I get up, I want to live. And I want to live so that I can leave a legacy that I have lived. The people that we're reading about in our ancestries, these people lived and they left something behind. And I think it'll be a sad state that when you leave here, there's no record of you doing anything for anybody. There's no record anywhere that you even existed. I think that's going to be sad. I remember when my children went to school, and I would say to them, well, if you're going to get up and get dressed every day to go to school, you might as well learn something while you're there. Huh? You might as well do something while you're there. And so when
Right.
graduation came, how can they just call your name? Graduating is Yvonne Pointer. No awards, no certificates, no nothing. So I would say to them, they have to show me that you've done something while you're here. Wouldn't that be the same thing about our lives?
Yes.
Don't just
Yes.
pass through here without doing something. If they don't say anything but Director Grady Stevenson was the best director for community relations, or Shelley Shockley wrote a best-selling novel, or something that you've left behind. And I think if we get up with that in our mind every day, that I am going to die, I'm going to pass away, but I'm going to do it, but I'm going to live every day. Every day, I want to say, this is the day that I get to leave a mark, to leave a legacy. And rather than watch Netflix all day, and I don't have nothing to get Netflix, or watch my phone all day, what can I do to make a difference in the life of someone else?
Well, I'm working on that bestseller, so.
I believe it. I believe it.
Well, I have enjoyed this. I don't know if there is anyone who who has joined us that would like to place a question in the chat, even though Mr. C had an issue? Is anyone else having an issue placing questions in the chat? If they do not, I think I will turn it over to the director to do our presentation.
My pleasure. Thank you, Shelley. So, to my sister, my friend, wow, what can I say? City of Cleveland, on behalf of Mayor Frank Jackson, 2021 Black History Month Committee, strengthening Black families through quest for equity and equality, would like to honor Dr. Yvonne Pointer
Thank
for your
you.
continued leadership and tenacity, February 2021. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You know what? All the rest of the people, I'll tell them, you know, I'm going to get this to you soon, but I can bring it by your house today.
Thank you.
And
Thank you so much.
hand deliver this to you. So I will call you on my way home and I will present this to you in person. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dr.
And
Pointer.
again, to Mayor Jackson, thank you so much. I appreciate his leadership. And thank you, Director. Thank you, Black History Committee. And I think this is my first year that I sat out. So I feel thank you.
Bravo.
We'll be calling you
Bravo.
soon. We got some work for you to do. We'll be calling you soon.
Bye.
Bravo. Bravo.
Thank
told
you,
you.
Mr. C.
I told you could never leave me.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. I appreciate everybody.
Absolutely. So, Ms. Shockley, I'll turn it back over to you.
All righty. So I think this has been a wonderful conversation. As always, I enjoy talking to you. I have especially enjoyed talking to you in this forum because, as I said when we started, you're the one who roped me into Black History Month, and I have enjoyed everything about it. So thank you for that. I would like to thank everyone who signed in. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you learned something and that you went away trying to figure out what you can do to help make this community better. What service project will you start? We will continue Black History Month next week. We have a day off tomorrow, but next Monday we will have social activism, and we will be talking to Mr. Billy Sharp. Yvonne mentioned Billy Sharp and some of the work that he's done. We will be talking to him. Later in the week, we will have a conversation centering around healthcare. It's scheduled to run on Tuesday, but that will be a taped program because Dr. Harris, who is the honoree, Dr. Fred Harris, is not available during the day to have a session like this. On the 25th, Director Stevenson has something up his sleeve. I don't know exactly how that day is going to work yet, but we will be honoring the Black History Month Committee. And then we will close out the month on February 27th, and we will be talking about equity in education, particularly with our young children. So all of this can be found at www.clevelandohio.gov/Black History Month. We thank you all for joining us. We thank you, Director Stevenson, for your guidance, and most especially we thank Mayor Jackson for his vision, allowing us to take time away from our jobs to do this. And Yvonne, as always, I thank you for just being you and for being my pusher.
Well, I would like to just leave you with these final words, and that is be the change that you expect to see in the world.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pointer.
Thank you.
to all
Love
of our
you.
listeners.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Excellent program, guys. Take care.
Thank you, Mr. C.
Excellent.